What's up, VC? It's a Harmless Rebel, and I am back with another CD or album review. It's been quite a while since I did an album review, and actually, I probably wouldn't have done one had the record company for this album not contacted me and specifically requested that I take a listen to this album and share my thoughts with those of you here in the vinyl community. The record label is, I believe it's Presagio. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's actually, from what I understand, a band-run label run by the band Isles, and this is their album. It's kind of hard to see there. 4:45 a.m. There you go. And I actually have to apologize to the label and the band up front. They sent this to me. I received this about a month and a half ago, which, if you follow my channel, I went on vacation and came back, and that's when my house flooded. And I've been quite busy with that and just haven't got around to making this video. So, I apologize to the band. I apologize to the label and to the to the rep that contacted me and sent this out to me. But I did want to go ahead and get this done. I have listened to this. I've probably listened to this album 24 times in the last month and a half. So let's just kind of jump into it. Isles is a Chilean prog band. They're from Santiago, I believe. Yeah, Santiago, Chile. This is their third album. I haven't had a chance to listen to their first two, but I'll definitely be picking those up very shortly. When we're talking about prog bands, we typically try to pigeonhole them. Almost every review I see pigeonholes a prog band into a neo-prog band that sounds like Marillion or what's the other one I'm thinking of? Or a classic prog band that sounds like Yes, or that sounds like Rush, or that sounds like Genesis. And it's really refreshing to see a band like this where they don't fall into any of those molds. Isles doesn't really sound like any of those bands. Are there hints of those bands throughout this album? Without a doubt. You can't be in the prog game, without touching on some of that stuff that was introduced by those groundbreaking bands that I just mentioned. This is a very cool album, though. It's not a neo-prog album. By the way, this came out in 2013, and I'll get into the reason why they're having people review it now in just a few minutes. But this is a very emotional album. In fact, most of the songs touch on different emotions. It starts off as a very upbeat album, very bright, I guess is probably a good way of saying it. And throughout, as the album progresses, it gets darker and darker. And then, the last couple tracks are called Sorrow is the third from last. Melancholia is the last of the album. So it's kind of a concept album where they're touching on emotion throughout. And it's kind of cool how they did the artwork. I'll show you here, because the artwork kind of goes along with each song. The first song is 4:45. Got this painting. Gallarda Aurora. And you see the time there too. That one's 4:02 a.m. 8 a.m. Shallow and Daft. 6:40 p.m. Back My Strength. And so on and so forth. I'm not going to show all of them. But they all do. Here's Melancholia is the artwork, and then I'll show the one for Sorrow. And you kind of see the darkness towards the end. And also the last, you've got Hero, which is another of the darker songs. I love this album from beginning to end. It doesn't sound like any other prog band. However, it touches on kind of all facets of prog. The first song, 4:45 a.m., which I'll put a link to the video down below so you can check that one out. And I will say, don't base the entire album off of what you hear from that, because honestly, I think 4:45 a.m., while it's a killer track, I think it's actually the weakest track on the album. And like I said, that's a good thing, because it's a great song, but it literally just gets better and better. And for me, the last few tracks, the darker, I would say track 5 through 10 are my favorite. I love the first 4 tracks, but that second half is just really where it's at for me. You know, in that first track, you've got kind of a late 70s prog sound to it. The second one, kind of the same. The third track, you have kind of an 80s feel to it. You almost feel a little bit of Genesis there. It doesn't sound like Genesis, but there's touches of that 80s sound. And that's one of the cool things about this album. It's not a traditional prog album. It's not a neo-prog album. Each song is its own kind of song, its own kind of story, and has its own kind of sound, which is something I really love about this album. And like I said, I really like the darker stuff on here. Some of my favorites, one of my favorites is probably The Sacrifice, and then Sorrow and Melancholia. So this is an album I highly recommend. Like I said, I've been listening to it nonstop since I got it, and I'm glad that the label got a hold of me to review this, because I never would have heard about this album had it not been for the label. So that's something I thought was very cool, and I thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. And again, I apologize that it took so long, but the reason that they're just now or that they're now having people review the album again, and from what I've seen, 3 or 4 people have also gotten this in the different music communities throughout eBay, or I'm sorry, throughout YouTube, is that they're about to release this on vinyl the first part of next year. And it's the first album that they've released on vinyl. It looks like a really nice package. It's a 2 LP set. The packaging, like I said, if it's anything is like the CD, the packaging is going to be killer. And if I remember correctly, the album, it's a double LP, and it also comes with a copy of the CD. And I'll put a link down below to the pre-order. I didn't see when it was being released. It says early 2016, so I'm thinking January or February. But I will be, as a matter of fact, I'll probably do that in a few minutes here. I will be pre-ordering this on vinyl. And like I said, highly, highly recommend this one. This is just it really is kind of a journey. And I'll put a link to their Bandcamp too. I just saw today on their Bandcamp they have a deal where you can get all 3 of their albums. You can download them for a really good price. I don't remember what the deal was off the top of my head, but I'll put a link to their Bandcamp as well. But get out there, VC, do a pre-order on this album. You will not be disappointed. On a scale of 1 to 10, this would be a 9.5 out of 10. I love this album. Instrumentation is amazing. The vocals, which is something that usually if I don't like a prog band, it's because of the vocals. I don't know what it is about prog vocalists. There's just so many of them that drive me crazy. But the vocals are really a high point on this album. Just beginning to end, you feel the emotion. And it's just, like I said, it's a great album. I recommend checking it out. Click on the links below. Let's get these guys some albums sold. Take care, VC. I'll talk to you soon.